Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com to watch Inside the Zone alongside Blake Searing, the Komets beat writer from the News Sentinel. I'm Glenn Marini, and Blake, we're down to the nitty-gritty. 2 weeks left, 6 games in the regular season, and the Komets still hanging on, and I say hanging on, to that 8th and final playoff spot, but really a good weekend when you take all things into account, traveling to South Carolina, playing the best goaltending in this league. So, summarize the weekend as we go forward for the Komets.
As usual, it was good and bad. I mean, it was good. They blew them out on Friday night, 7-4. They played fantastic. They beat Jeff Jakitis like the old proverbial drum, and they really were aggressive, and they didn't overpass, and they shot the puck on net, and they did everything right. And then Saturday, they didn't do any of that, and that's the frustrating part. They lost in a shootout 3-2, but they had dozens of chances, it seems like, to actually win the game.
Yeah, and that's you kind of described it the way I heard Gary Graham describe it in an interview. Everybody wants to point the positive, but he's kind of a guy that he wants it perfect. He wanted those 4 points.
Perfect at this time of year
because they've had so much trouble really in overtime games, and we've talked about it ad nauseum. You know, if they take care of games in overtime, just 50% of them. We're not even talking about them hanging on the playoffs. They're a 6-5 seed.
Again, they led going into the third. Take care of the game in regulation. You know, I came up with the stat. I was looking through it after what Gary said, and I believe they're 5-16 now in games after they score 4 or more goals the previous game. It's like they completely lose their mind and forget how they're supposed to play after they have a big night, and they think they're all going to be that easy. And it's like, no, they're not.
If you're the Komets right now, what is your situation from a goaltending perspective? Because it was an interesting weekend goaltending-wise. We saw, obviously we didn't see Meisner, but we've seen Grogan. The numbers aren't necessarily great unless you look at the wins and losses. And they're 3-1 when this guy started in goal. Obviously a young kid out of UConn, but he's played well down the stretch. And also, we got a little taste of Max Strang this weekend, who, they really liked him coming out of camp.
And he really outplayed Cody Reichert in camp. But they went with Cody's experience, obviously. It's almost like we've talked a little bit here the last couple of weeks. It's almost become the goaltenders are not irrelevant. I don't want to say that, but they're less relevant than they were because of the way the team is playing in front of them. I mean, the shots that they're seeing are all from a distance. They're all outside. There aren't that many rebounds. It's like the team plays differently in front of these two than they have in front of Makarov and Meisner so far. But I think you'll probably see Meisner back this week.
Yeah, what's the situation with him and Makarov? Obviously, with an AHL team, you never know when he's going to come back, if he's going to come back. But what's the situation there? And then how do they handle, mixing Strang and mixing Grogan in, because there aren't that many spots.
Right. Well, and you got to figure out if Jason Dale comes back or if Matt Carter comes back. That means you need to readjust your roster for the salary cap too. Can you afford to carry 3 goalies then? Maybe not, but maybe you can put one of them on reserve too to keep them around. You just gotta wait and see. That's the thing that's going to be answered this week is what's going to happen with the goaltending.
Another big question mark, because he's been a constant force offensively this season for the Komets, Chris Auger. Where is he at physically? Because it's a shoulder, correct?
Yeah, and Chris has always he's never had the strongest shoulder in the world anyway. It's the one he's had surgically repaired a couple times, I think. And, he just keeps gutting it out and keeps playing through it. So we'll see. Maybe they sit him out Wednesday, give him a couple extra days rest. Maybe they try out Carter. We're going to have to find out all this stuff come Wednesday night.
And Carter's still battling the groin, but feeling much better from what I understand?
Yeah, he told me a week ago that when he comes off IR, he's ready to go. He wants to go and wants to try it. And Jason Dale told me he's coming back too. Now, neither one of them is Gary Graham saying this or Zach Creighton, the trainer, so you got to be sure. But both of those two are very determined that they are coming back.
Well, one guy it's been nice to see in a Komets uniform, Aaron Clark. 9 games, 6 goals.
14 points.
Yeah, 14 points total. I was trying to think, 8 assists. So,
he's doing for the Komets what he did against them all those games.
Yeah. How has he been able, because we've seen guys come in and have a good game or two and then maybe revert to the reason they were traded, but he hasn't.
Bruston is another. I mean, he had a good couple games at the start and he's kind of disappeared.
But so how has Clark been able to
I just think he's that good.
Really?
I really do. I mean, just everything you've seen of him playing against the Komets, he's just good. I mean, he's very aggressive. He plays bigger than he is. He's smart. He's a good skater, and he's got a great shot.
When you look on paper at what the Komets have left the rest of the season, you got to be licking your chops, because this is a team that's got 6 games left. Five of those are at home, which I know the numbers this year are better on the road, but you have to think down the stretch, you want to be at home in front of your home fans, don't you?
You would think. And then the other game's at Toledo, which is in last place by a mile and really struggling, and some place you've had success at. But you would think, and then you look at Florida's got 6 home games left, and you would think things are set up for you. It's like, then they really are. They got no excuses. I mean, if they don't do it, they just aren't good enough.
Well, and here's the thing. When I was looking through their opponents, not just for this week, but for next week, these aren't teams that the Komets can't beat or haven't beat.
Right.
They've been great against Cincinnati this year. Specifically more at their place.
Yes.
But 4-0-2 against Cincinnati. They're going to play them twice. They've got Toledo on the schedule twice. They've got Evansville, and it couldn't be set up really any better.
It really couldn't.
So going forward for the next 2 weeks, what are you doing if you're Gary Graham, preaching, saying you don't want to be overconfident?
No, but I think you do what Kentucky preached throughout the NCAA tournament. You preach the opportunity. You don't preach, well, we better. No, you preach that we should, and we're gonna, and this is our opportunity to really show what we can do and go strong into the playoffs. You preach opportunity rather than pessimism.
Reading one of your stories, you kind of mentioned that the Komets have been a different team since we flipped the calendar in 2014. Points-wise, they've been one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. If this team does indeed make the playoffs like we believe that they should, how dangerous are they in the postseason?
I think they could be dangerous, but and people are going to think, well, they won a CHL title 2 years ago. Well, there's only 2 guys back from that, Auger and Schrock, and that's it. But you look at if they could get Jason Dale back, if they could get Matt Carter back, if there's a chance, and it's probably a slim chance, they could get Dean Ouellette back. You could go out there with 3 lines that are as good as anybody. And then, maybe you finally score. Maybe the power play finally gets going somehow. Anything is possible, especially when you get a second chance to a fresh start with the playoffs.
When you start talking about those pieces, how good of a job have the Frankies and Gary Graham done down the stretch of getting these pieces? Because you mentioned Aaron Clark, he is who he thought he was, and he's played up to that.
Jason Dale did for those 3 games before he got hurt.
Right. Aside from the injuries, you have to tip your hat and really say, in retrospect, gosh, they did a really good job, because they're better than anybody they'd add in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. And it's amazing, too. I mean, and I know you don't want to look long-term yet, but think about this. They are 10 spots ahead of where they were at the start of this season for next year. I mean, you've definitely got 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that you definitely want back for next year, without a doubt. And you've got their rights, and you can get them signed and everything, and you're miles and miles ahead of where you were last year at this time.
Obviously, every game is important right now. Komets 8th, 74 points. Florida right behind at 73. Evansville further down at 69 points in that 10th spot. But the opening game of the week, we always talk about that first period being critical.
Oh, yeah.
Shows us a lot. I think historically it's shown us a lot of what's going to happen in the entire week. But Wednesday's game, Cincinnati at home. What do you expect to see? What are you looking forward to kind of set up the next couple of weeks and this playoff stretch for the Komets?
I want to see if Ben Meisner plays. I want to see if Matt Carter plays. I want to see if they rest Chris Auger. I want to see some improvements in intensity. I mean, how many times have we talked all year about consistency and intensity? And I want to see them do that at home I don't want to just see 1 game. I want to see 2 games. I want to see 3 games. I want to see them do it every game at home, finally. I want to see the same consistent, disciplined effort. And by discipline, I don't mean not taking a bunch of penalties. I mean playing the system and doing what you're supposed to instead of trying to go 1-on-3 to take it into the zone. I want to see them cycle with the puck down low and possess the puck and take the pressure off their defense. I want to see them do it every shift for once.
And if they want to make the playoffs, they pretty much
kind of have to do that. Yeah,
they have to. Although,
why not now getting into the good habits?
It's hard to do, though.
It is.
If you've done it the whole season. But everything.
I mean, think
would
about
say
it. Have they had a hot streak yet this year?
Not,
I mean, a
not
real
one where they've really
bonafide-
scorched
right.
for a long period of time.
Right. Or they've. I mean, they haven't won 3 games in a row at home all year. I don't think. Wow. You know, that's amazing. And to think about even that hot stretch, the better record in the second half, they still haven't done it then.
And it's weird to say that because whenever throw out like Hershey or somebody like that, and you take a look at the fan attendance across minor league hockey, and the Komets are always in the top 5. Yeah. Always in the top 5. So you'd have to think playing at the Coliseum is one of the best places to play in all of minor league hockey, right?
Somebody explained it to me a couple weeks ago as it's like an original Six crowd. The fans are sitting there like this, impress me. You know, I mean, and I kind of get that. Is we have, you know, I would think, better educated fans than some places.
Higher standards, I think.
You would think so after everything they've been through the last 15, 20 years. Okay. And that's part of the deal. But if you perform and put forth that effort, you are rewarded instantly. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like they want to be impressed. It's not like they're skeptical. Right. They want to cheer. They've got to have a reason to cheer, you know.
Well, hopefully they will have more than one reason to cheer this week as the Komets make that playoff push trying to secure a spot in the postseason. We'll talk about it next Monday as the K's get things rolling. But for Blake, I'm Glenn, and we'll see you then.